Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk on the Low. I got one of my basically father figures with me. Been knowing him since knee high when he was coaching at Napoleon and growing up. He's been active in the community, active in my life, and like I said, he really need no further introduction. He like the Lavar Ball to our to Vasher, and so no more than Mr. Shawn Sr. So I always like to open my podcast up with like a quote or something that kind of people grab. And so one that came to my mind when I was thinking about doing my notes for you was growth is optional, change is inevitable. And why I like that so much because I feel like a lot of time you get in life and people feel as if that because they're changing that they're growing. And so I don't know if you have anything to kind of piggyback off of that. And I also see that a lot in sports, even in my life, just because we change and we grow we change every day, but that doesn't always mean we growing.
That's a good one. First of all, glad to be here.
Yes, sir.
Honor to be on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
And that's a great quote to start with, like I said, because change doesn't always mean changing for the better.
Correct.
But the good thing about it, I think, when it comes down to change, we have a lot to do of what direction we're changing in.
Correct.
Whether that's upward or downward. And the main thing is also a change, I feel like, you have to be able to measure where you're moving.
Yes,
You got to be true to yourself,
yes,
whether you're moving upward or downward. But that's a great one to start off with.
Yeah, before we kind of get into the topic, man, I know we had a relationship from prior and even before I started the podcast when we would come over and just play games, and even during quarantine, we just kind of sat down and planning about life after football, and so I just want to say I appreciate you, man, because you always been a father figure to me, and you probably know, not even to me, but just people in our community, because they see how active you are, just kind of helping other people get to certain levels and networking and how important that is. And so that's one of the main things that I've learned from you is that how important it is to network and to be able to carry yourself and put yourself in those situations for when those opportunities come. And so, like I said, a lot of people from Vashri and a lot of my friends, we call you the Lavar Ball of our generation. And so one of the first things that came to my mind was I was sitting down and thinking, what's one thing that you've grown to love now that you're older?
One thing I've grown to love as I'm older, I would say the simpler things in life. Waking up, being around other individuals that you care about, being around good friends, good conversation. Most of the things that, as I've gotten older, that I've learned to love, money came by.
Right.
And, like I try to impress upon my boys and boys like yourself, is to, not maybe get caught up in, a materialistic world. Because, when we leave this place, we gotta leave all this behind. But, man, memories that you make on a daily basis and over the years, those things are irreplaceable. And, like I said, but, some of the I enjoy being around good people, young and old. I'm able to relate, to both groups, I guess, in my middle ages. And like I said, just continue to, enjoy helping people because I think that reciprocates. And, you mentioned things about, pouring into you all and different things like that, but a lot of people pour into my kids. Your mom was one that poured in, to my kids. The community of St. James, embrace my kids. So, I feel like that reciprocates. So, you give and you get. And
For me, I think the first thing that came to my mind was being a great hugger, because I never forget there's this, one of our trainers at UTSA, her name Miss Marie, and she gives the best hugs ever. Like every day I make sure I go in there and get a hug from her. And I just think one thing that we don't do enough of is kind of show that I'll express our love to one another. And so that's one thing I kind of have grown to love just over the past years. And another thing was being a safe space for somebody to talk to, because even now, like, I think as just in our community, like, we see counseling or expressing ourselves as a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like most time, like, we just need somebody to listen to us. And I just feel like we can fix so much with a conversation.
Amen. Like I said, I mean, sometimes just being a sounding board for someone goes a long way. Sometimes you don't have all the answers, but just like you said, and the key word you said was safe place. You know, when you talk about a safe place, that means the things that you're sharing with me won't be shared.
Right.
But like I said, I mean, I think that's in these days and time. You know, we've dealt with COVID. You know, everybody sees a ongoing changing world. You know, once again, I think that's a great tool and a great trait to enjoy.
And one of the things that just came to my mind, just kind of thinking as we're doing it, what's one thing that inspires you? Because, you know, the people look at you and kind of see who you are. And for those who are watching and who don't know, you know, both of your sons are now college Division I. One's playing safety at Mississippi State, and the other one just graduated, will be at Alabama. And so what inspires you to not only pour into your kids, but we see you love other kids just as much as you love your own. And so where that come from? Was it just because a lot of people, my question would be like, where does that stem from?
That's another great question. I don't know who help you with those questions. Just growing up, man, I just, you know, first of all, you know, I came to the realization that anyone that puts in hard work, they're going to see fruits of their labor. When I started having children, you know, I started to try to instill that into them at a young age. As I continuously to grow and mature, and as the boys start to get older, what a lot of people don't realize is, you know, individuals reached out to help me, you know, to raise my boys. Individuals gave me nuggets, you know, to pass on to help them be successful. And I just feel like it's hypocritical, you know, for people to pour into you and you don't pour into other people.
Right.
So, you know, I've always said, you know, I felt like the more I'm a blessing to others, some kind of way, God reciprocates that and bless my two sons. And it has been, I call it win-win. Something else, you know, I feel like there's enough blessings out there for everybody.
Correct.
So whatever I have that works, you know, I'm always willing to share. Because once again, you know, there was a time where individuals shared information with me, not just about being a good football player, you know, but things that would help them be better young men. Right. And if those things can help my boys be better young men, those things can help any young man to be a better young man. So it's just something that kind of, you know, resonates in me. It comes natural. But just want to make sure everybody understands, you know, like I said, I mean, you know, Shawn Preston Sr. didn't do all of that by himself. Had a lot of help along the way. I kind of always told you the story, you know, that, you know, when we were looking around, you know, for the different schools, maybe where to send Shawn, and, you know, one of the things was somebody told me, man, you want to go where there's a big fish and they're already fishing in that pond. There's already some excitement at that place. where they're fishing for a big fish. So you might be a little fish now, but eventually, you know, the big fish is going to be going, and you going. And sure enough, St. James is that place and use that big fish. So like I said, and that's something that you may not even know, but you help me, you help us without even knowing. So life is a circle. So then it comes around again.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and then as long as you know you keep helping and your heart's in the right place, you know, I think once again it's a win-win situation when it comes down to that particular trade again.
For sure. And now that you say that, I know you don't mind me sharing. We were supposed to shoot this podcast about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
And I had texted you and told you that I had felt myself going into a slump or depression. And your advice to me was, anytime you feel like you needed help, you would help someone else. And you know, I took that advice, and you know, it's crazy how things start to turn around like that. And it wasn't because I was doing it to get myself out of it, but it's just crazy how much that when you naturally do things to help people, how much it brings joys and things to yourself. And another thing that came to my mind was when I think about that question, what inspires you? One thing that I took from my mom's funeral was my pastor talked about, you know, when your time has come, you know, to end on earth, you know, when people go and see your gravestone, that's gonna be your birth date and the year you left, and that dash in between is what's really most important, because people always not gonna remember, you know, all the touchdowns or the, you know, the stats or whatever, but people always remember how you make them feel. And that dash is more important because what you do during that time is how people would remember you. And so that's one thing that. And so, what advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice would I give to my younger self? Pre-20 or after 20? No, I'm just joking. Because when you're pre-20, that's a whole nother life almost.
Yes,
but just my younger self, I would probably say to soak up more knowledge. I guess of a wide variety of things. You know, maybe at an earlier age. Definitely, you know, financial literacy. You know, at a younger age, because, like I said, I mean, I think that, you know, that's something that, you know, is lacking in the African American community, and one of the reasons why is because, you know, my mom and grandmother, you know, didn't know how to teach me financial literacy. You know, their focus mainly, you know, was just making it.
Right.
So that's one thing. Another thing for my younger self is like, you know, I mean, like anybody else. I mean, you know, I wasn't perfect. You know, there was things that, you know, that I did, you know, that if I had a chance to do them over, you know, I wouldn't. But like I said, I mean, you know, to be real with myself maybe at a much earlier age, and that might have springboarded me a little more in life, you know, at a younger age. I'd say, you know, that's probably, you know, I mean, you know, the main two things. That's probably it.
I think sometimes that's a tricky question, because I think most people was like, what would you change during that journey? But, you know, like, all of those things that you experience help you become.
I was just about to say.
Become, you know, who you are, because, you know, life to me is a trial and error. You know, you learn from. I feel like we learn mostly from our mistakes.
Hey man, I use it all the time. You know, with Shawn and Shazz, it's like, don't step in the same hole. Don't hit your head on the same wall.
Right.
You know, but like I said, stepping in the hole one time, you know, that doesn't consume you, should educate you. Hitting your head on a particular wall one time that doesn't kill you, should educate you.
Right.
So, you know, we all make mistakes. It's just learning from those mistakes and not constantly make those same mistakes over. So, I mean, you're exactly right. You know, a lot of the things that happen in our lives really shape and mold our lives.
Right. And so, for me, I was thinking about every time I related to football so much because that's what, you're a father of 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do, and also you're a coach now of the Bootleggers and,
Mm-hmm.
and a mentor for a lot of people, including myself. And so my question is, how do you prepare or teach someone to prepare for that moment in life as we're doing football? Because most time we can put people in the right situation, but they still have to make that play for themselves.
Right.
And so how do we get guys prepared for those moments in life, like as we do for football, and for instance?
That's another great question. And I always say, football, the game is like a metaphor of life.
The greatest teacher.
The preparation for it, the camaraderie, the adversity, all those things, that in the game. Oh man, but being prepared for that moment, in life. I mean, that's a big one because I'm gonna relate it to sometime opportunity only knocks once.
For sure.
So when it's time to make that catch.
Mm-hmm.
When it's time to make that tackle on the 1 yard line, when it's time to make the run in the hole that closes like this, just like in life, I think preparation. You can't plan everything,
Mm-hmm.
but you can prepare yourself as well-rounded as you can, to take advantage of opportunities that's going to come in your life.
That's good.
And that's why education is so important. You don't know when that job is going to come outside of football, and that requirement is that degree.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know when that opportunity to move up into upper management is going to come, and it's going to kind of slide towards the individual that may have a prior relationship with one of the higher ups already.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the networking aspect. So, and I can go on and on, but the main thing is to be ready for that moment is to prepare as much as you can in life for maybe whatever life throws your way.
Right.
And normally, you're going to come out better than that individual that's not prepared.
Mm-hmm. And so one of the final things is your favorite memory as a father.
Oh man, got a couple of those. Favorite memory. I guess just when I came to the realization that a lot of the foundational traits
Mm-hmm.
that myself and Lori put into the boys, you can see them manifesting. One thing, about Lori and I, we have normal sons. They just like anybody else.
Right.
They ain't no better, no worse. They get into stuff. We have to have those same kind of hard conversations. They had to be chastised when they were young from a physical and mental standpoint. But when it comes to a point where you can sit back and you can look at them and you can say, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
Even as they may be still making mistakes, because like I said, they're at a young age, but you can see those traits to say, they've got that foundation. They know who God is.
Right.
They know that where their blessings come from
Right.
when it's all said and done, even though they don't say it. They know how to be respectful. They know how to work hard. So the proudest moment just when you sit back and then you look and it's like, they got it.
Mm-hmm.
And as parents, that's all we want is our kids to have a foundation to when we're not there,
Mm-hmm.
they can still survive and move on in this world.
Yes, sir.
So that's it.
Yes, sir. So to kind of finish off the podcast, anything you want to share, advice to give to the listeners?
Well, like I said, I appreciate Lowell having me on. You know, he is the epitome of resiliency, and I want the viewers out there to understand, like I said, yeah, this is a podcast, but this is also a platform for you. You know, it's what our young people need, once again, to see individuals like yourself doing this kind of thing. And these podcasts, you know, they're gonna help you, but they're gonna help some others too that you don't realize. So make sure that you share and you like. Make sure you spread the word about this podcast. And you know, he's a Nickel State Colonel now. And you know, we're looking for big things in Thibodaux. You know, of course, Rebo has that stadium packed on Saturdays and Thursday nights now. And like I said, you know, we're just looking forward to watching your next chapter.
Yes, sir.
You know, you've been turning them chapters, and this is a next chapter, and I appreciate it.
And so before we kind of end, I always wanted to tell you this story. I learned it last year during chapel on Friday night at in Texas for a home game. And so I forgot his name, but it was about a fisherman that were fishing and wasn't in the competition, just kind of fishing for dinner. And another guy about 30 feet away was also fishing with him. And they was on the water for about 30, 40 minutes, and he hadn't caught anything. But he see this guy who's 20, 30 feet away from him catching the biggest fish ever, and he keep releasing them back into the water. And so another hour goes by, he's catching nothing, and this guy has caught maybe 4 or 5 fishes of significant sized fishes, and he is throwing all of them back. And so he finally catch a fish, and this other guy catch the same fish who's about 20 yards away from him, this small fish about this big. And so when they get back to the dock, he asked the guy, he was like, why do you throw the big fish back but you keep the small one? And the guy shows him his frying pan, and his frying pan is only this big. And so the moral of the story was, you know, that I got from it was never limit yourself and always keep your, I won't say options or potential big, because, you know, don't have the small frying pan of your mind that, you know, you kind of limit yourself and put all these limitations on yourself. And I just always thought I wanted to share that with you.
That's a good one.
And so thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and until we see you on the next one.